Today I'm going to be walking you through why the education system is broken and not in the way that you think. Why AI education is the future for all of us and what the future of education could possibly look like. And unfortunately, you might be using these tools wrong, which will only hinder you in the future. So today I'm making the case for why the education system is broken. No shocker there. AI can fix it, probably will fix it, but it's important we do it right. So this is a data-driven case for reinventing how we learn all the way from kindergarten to the corporate workforce. AI is transforming every industry on earth. We can currently see it right now. The question isn't whether education will change, it's whether we'll lead that change or be crushed by it. The system is failing us, it's failing the next generation. The numbers are not getting any better. American students are falling behind by nearly every measurable standard, while the cost of education has skyrocketed beyond reach. For the last half decade to a decade, a lot of people are reconsidering going to college or university now, just because it is, again, very expensive and you don't really see the benefits from it, if you're not becoming a professional in that sense, where it's like a doctor, a lawyer, X, Y, and Z. But even still then, especially with AI now, I think you should reconsider some of those options potentially, or just think deep and hard about it. So, the numbers are staggering. 35% reading proficiency of U.S. 12th graders read at this level, and it's down from 40% in 1992. Obviously, the phones kind of hindered that a while ago, and just with technology, a lot of people aren't reading anymore. 22% math proficiency of 12th graders are at this level, half know as much as the 99th percentile third grader. And the most important stat of this all is that we've seen an 893% increase in tuition growth, so increasing college tuition since '83, yet graduates are now unemployed the longest. So again, you're coming out with all this debt, expecting the big promises of getting a job, potentially starting your career, and that just doesn't seem to be happening. So college confidence has collapsed, as I was saying. 75% of Americans thought college was important in 2010. Now just 35%. And especially now with AI coming on the forefront of things, kind of the tsunami wave of AI kind of disrupting a lot of these industries, especially the knowledge side of things. A lot of people now are second guessing these decisions. So essentially you can look at it like kind of the internet, right? It's going to be more impactful than the internet. We're at the early stage of the general purpose technology like electricity. Soon we'll kind of stream AI like we do with power. And so it's that foundational. AI is on the exact same trajectory and more so. So for instance, I think Claude had a shortage, or they're having some issues with some of their users. It's like having, it's going to be like having Wi-Fi. You just can't do any work. No one's going to be productive. People are just going to be like sitting around or whatever. It's that impactful, okay, whether that's good or bad. So we broadly just kind of look at the landscape. This is what kind of schools optimize for versus what the future demands. So it is tremendously changing. So even the economy is going to need to change. We're going to need kind of new metrics, I guess you could say, or ways of analyzing the productivity of the economy and all this other stuff. So what schools teach today, it's find the right answer, it's follow the rubric, it's memorize and regurgitate, it's sit still, raise your hand, wait to be called on, time-based progression, and identity coupled to grades and job titles. And that's the problem with the whole failure aspect. No one wants to fail anymore because it's just your whole identity, right? So if you get the C+ or the F or whatever on your report card, you think you're a complete failure. And unbeknownst to us as a little kid, we realized that failure is part of life, and so they don't really prep you for that side of things. And again, it's memorize and it's memorization based learning. It's not necessarily this is how we learn skills. So if you go in the real world and you're trying to learn a new skill, maybe an instrument, another language, or just a topic, you don't really know the best way to actually focus on that topic, right? You just kind of go, okay, maybe let me try memorization, and that actually is not the ideal way to go about learning. Now, on the flip side, we have the AI age, right? So this is ask the right questions. So instead of finding the right answer, it's not about that anymore. It's not answer-based, it's question-based. Questions we have to ask, because if we ask the right questions, we get the right answers. We have to think critically across disciplines, and we'll talk about this in a bit here. We have to create, experiment, and iterate, especially in a very fast-changing landscape like AI. We have to communicate with humans and AI. So I think communication might change potentially when we are communicating with these agentic workflows and robots and all that other stuff while still maintaining obviously the humanity side of things. It's mastery based learning at your own pace. How this is going to transform is everyone's going to have a personal tutor, right? So we're going to have billions of robots everywhere, and you're going to have your own personal tutor walking you through, like you're going to have essentially Elon Musk in your pocket, or I guess a robot You're going to have Elon Musk as a robot helping you learn, right? And that's absolutely fantastic. And then we have adaptability, confidence, and lifelong curiosity. So after doing some research, this is kind of a framework for getting this right. Most schools are rushing to merge all three pillars at once. That's a little dangerous. Deploying unready AI tools to kids is not kind of the best approach. And we risk harming learning outcomes. So here's the sequence. So here is the sequence approach. Safe adoption is super important, just like it is if you're using any of these LLMs already, just for work or your personal life. We have to adopt safely. So teach kids to navigate AI safely now. And this, especially at this age, potentially this is the only AI access some kids get, right? So you kind of guardrail a lot of the powers of AI, I guess you could say, just like the internet. A lot of kids at school don't have access to the entire internet, entire internet. A lot of the sites are blocked, so that could be potentially a way with AI. Adjust to the classroom, so this will drastically change. So flip what happens at home versus school. Assume everything at 3 p.m. is AI powered. Research can happen with ChatGPT at home. Deep learning, critical thinking, discussion must happen in the classroom. And then we have redesigned the entire system, because this will probably change the long game, right? So we got to start playing the long game. Fundamentally rebuild education from AI age, right? So AI native, this falls on governments and curriculum designers, not on teachers, right? So this is super important. And so those are that's kind of a ground up approach. So there was two kind of big studies that took place that reveal some critical insight. It's not about adding AI, it's about redesigning the entire learning ecosystem around it. So we had Wharton, that's one study. The second study is actually Harvard Physics. So we had 3 groups. We had a control group, which just had access to the textbook. We had unlimited ChatGPT access group, which is 48% better on practice. And then we had the guided AI tutor, which obviously had almost 130% better on practice. So when they took the final test and they didn't have the help of AI, unlimited access group, the second group, scored 17% worse than the control group. So AI harmed learning. But the guided tutor group performed the same as the control group. So as maybe you are seeing right now with using these tools, you are just relying more on the model, and you will have some atrophy in the brain because you're just not using cognitive abilities as much as you were without this tool. Right? It's kind of the same thing with the calculator. And so our second study here with Harvard Physics, so we entirely redesigned versus traditional approach. Now the traditional was the lecture and peer groups, all that fun stuff we all do at school, and then we had the AI driven, which was self-paced with immediate feedback. And so the AI group performed 2x better and reported higher motivation and engagement. So the entire ecosystem was redesigned, not just a tool swapped in. So this is important to go over. This is what happens when you actually redesign the education system. So Alpha Schools pioneered a 2-hour academic day powered by AI tutoring and master-based learning with the rest of the day devoted to life skills, workshops, and passion projects. This is absolutely crazy. So the results shattered every assumption about what school can be. So we had a 1410 average SAT score for the entire student body versus national average of almost 1,000. We had a 1535 senior SAT score for top 1% nationally achieved through AI-powered mastery learning. And we had a 90% plus for the love of school, right? I think now kids, no one wants to go to school. So of students, right? So that's absolutely crazy. So 90% of the students say they loved school. 2/3 asked to skip summer break just to stay learning and be in this type of environment. 2 to 10x faster learning. Students learn 2 to 5 times faster on average, some up to 10x. And it does show what the future could look like if you redesign and kind of look at the education system with a different lens with AI. We're losing, the biggest issue too is we're losing belief on this entire system. Like I said, most people, like most kids, do not want to go to school anymore. They don't want to learn anymore. So when students rewrite their own handwritten essays in ChatGPT, not to save time, but because they don't trust their own work, right? Or they don't trust the system. They're like, okay, let's just get this done with and hand it in. So we have a confidence crisis. So there's going to be a premium on certain skills, right? And the good news is these are all free to develop, right? But we have, critical thinking and deep reading is super important in the age of AI, right? Read more, not less. Specifically, right? You have to do the opposite of what a lot of people are doing. If everyone starts using these tools, yes, they are going to have cognitive atrophy, right? They are going to have weaker skills. So critical thinking and deep reading is very important, free play and imagination. We know some of the top entrepreneurs like Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, just walk and wander, right? So the future Steve Jobs won't come from a cubicle. They'll come from people who can play freely and think creatively. Cross-disciplinary thinking is massive, when we can kind of all, when we're all wearing a bunch of hats because we're just kind of managing AI, this is super important. So us and kids will hold 17 jobs across 5 industries. So how does math connect to history, to philosophy, to ethics? So you have to start kind of, obviously this is kind of the argument of the generalist versus the specialist. And so then we have communication and confidence. So the interface of the future is conversation with AI and with humans. So speaking, presenting, articulating ideas. And this comes back to critical thinking and deep reading. Since you are going to be a manager of AI, you need to learn how to manage AI, just like you would with employees, right? Super valuable. So we have grit and reliance, and then ethics, philosophy, and history. So AI is definitely the future, right? Future of pretty much everything at this point. So how do you make AI literacy for everyone fun, safe, and effective? We put together an app for you. Vizancia makes AI literacy accessible, engaging, and safe for kids, parents, students, professionals to new AI. And you learn it through bite-sized games, interactive quizzes, and real-world challenges. No coding required, just curiosity at this point. Research-backed, it's gamified learning, and it's not a chatbot. Okay. Most importantly, we address Pillar 1, so safe AI adoption. Pillar 2, classroom adjustment, the most urgent needs right now, while institutions work on Pillar 3. So Vizancia delivers a complete AI literacy curriculum through an engaging gamified product experience designed around the science of how people actually learn, right? So adaptive difficulty, right? You want to find that sweet spot of where someone fits. So meets every learner exactly where they are. Real-time dashboards. Learners, parents, and managers can see exactly where they stand with progress tracking and confidence metrics. And then obviously it is cross-disciplinary, which is super important. So how does AI connect history, ethics, business, and science? And this is baked into every module for deep understanding. And this is how we're kind of different. So no addictive chatbot relationships, structured learning, not infinite conversation. So this is built to give every learner equal quality guidance regardless of background, language, and identity. Human-centered philosophy. AI should be optimized for us, not the other way around. We don't want humans becoming optimization engines for algorithms. Transparent data practices. Parents and administrators see exactly what's collected. Full visibility, no hidden data harvesting. That's something we truly believe in. Chat-free core learning and continuous iteration. So given that AI is the future, and I wholeheartedly believe that, the window is open, but it's not open for, much longer. So AI is becoming a general purpose technology today, like yesterday. Ubiquity is inevitable. General purpose technologies built on each other. So communities left behind compound their disadvantage with every passing year. So that the AI divide is here. Communities that miss electricity miss the internet. Those that miss the internet will miss AI. People who build literacy now will invent the future. So people who don't will be left behind. This is the best time in history to be a 5-year-old if we prepare them properly. Okay, and parents are the biggest blocker, unfortunately, not because they don't care, but because they know only the model they grew up with. Vizancia helps educate parents alongside their kids, and we don't need to wait. So how do you kind of get started today? Number 1, for schools, book a pilot program demo, be a funding school partner, right? Bring plug and play AI literacy to your students with zero burden on your teachers. For parents and families, download the app. Vizancia, first link down below. We don't hold any of your data. You can actually just get it on the App Store and start learning AI today. Start your family's AI literacy journey today. Age-appropriate learning from age 7 plus that parents and kids experience together. That's a great family bonding experience. For enterprise, schedule an L&D consultation. Bring AI literacy reskilling to your workforce with the same mastery-based gamified approach, driving world-class outcomes. Download the app down below. It's 100% completely free, and it meets you where you're at, and you can start your AI literacy journey today. As always, stay human, and I'll see you next time.